There comes a point in every season where pretending costs more than telling the truth. You can keep showing up with a smile, keep saying you're fine, keep moving through life on autopilot, but inside something knows. Something knows what's misaligned, what's exhausted, what's no longer working. This season isn't asking you to perform. It's asking you to be honest. Honest about what you feel. Honest about what you want. Honest about what you've outgrown. Honesty isn't about self-criticism. It's about self-respect. When you tell yourself the truth, you stop gaslighting your own experience. You stop minimizing your pain and stop romanticizing what's draining you. You begin to name things as they are, not as you wish they were. And naming something doesn't make it worse, it makes it manageable. What stays unspoken stays powerful. What is acknowledged can finally be addressed. Many people avoid honesty because they're afraid of what it will require. If you admit you're tired, you might have to rest. If you admit you're unhappy, you might have to change. If you admit you've been settling, you might have to choose differently. But avoiding honesty doesn't protect you. It delays you. It keeps you stuck in cycles that feel familiar, but quietly cost you your peace. This season is asking you to check in with yourself without judgment, to ask real questions and stay long enough to hear the answers. Where am I forcing something that no longer fits? Where am I shrinking to keep things stable? Where am I betraying myself to avoid discomfort? These aren't easy questions, but they are necessary ones, because clarity doesn't come from pretending, it comes from truth. Honesty also requires you to release the story you've been telling to survive. The story that says you have to be strong all the time. The story that says you can't disappoint anyone. The story that says your needs are too much. This season is challenging those narratives. It's reminding you that growth doesn't begin with toughness. It begins with truth. And when you practice honesty with yourself, everything else shifts. Your decisions become cleaner. Your boundaries become clearer. Your energy stops leaking into places that no longer serve you. You don't feel the need to explain yourself as much because you're no longer confused about what you need. That kind of alignment is powerful. So don't rush past this moment. Don't numb it. Don't distract yourself from what's rising to the surface. This season is requiring honesty, not to expose you, but to free you. Because once you tell yourself the truth, you can finally move forward without carrying the weight of pretending. Holding on is easier than letting go. At least it feels that way. We cling to what is familiar because it gives us a false sense of control. We hold on to relationships, jobs, routines, or even beliefs that no longer serve us because letting go feels like admitting we've failed, like admitting we're not enough. But this season is asking something different. It's asking you to release what you can't carry forward, to stop forcing life into boxes that no longer fit, and to make space for what is truly meant for you. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing wisely. It's the act of recognizing that some chapters are finished. Even if you're not ready to close the book entirely, you may feel grief, disappointment, or even fear, and that's natural. Letting go is messy and uncomfortable because it involves a confrontation with your attachment. But what you hold on to out of fear only keeps you stagnant. This season requires courage, the courage to say, I am done forcing what is no longer aligned with my growth. Think about the things you've been carrying for years. Maybe it's a friendship that drains you more than it supports you. Maybe it's a mindset that keeps you replaying old stories of failure. Maybe it's guilt over choices you made or didn't make. These things weigh you down quietly until one day you realize you've been dragging them through life like a shadow. Letting go doesn't erase the past, but it frees your present. It allows you to operate from clarity instead of obligation. It allows your energy to move toward what truly matters. Letting go also creates space for what is meant to come. Life can't fill what is full. The future can't move in while you're holding tightly to the past. When you release, you make room for opportunity, for people who align with your values, for experiences that honor your growth. This season isn't about rejection. It's about preparation. It's about clearing the clutter so you can step into what's next, fully present, fully available, fully you. Many resist letting go because of fear of loss. We imagine scarcity as if life is a limited supply, and if we release one thing, we won't receive another. But the universe doesn't work that way. When you let go of what's expired, you make room for what is abundant. When you release what no longer fits, you allow new blessings to enter. This is a principle of alignment. What belongs will come, and what doesn't will fall away. So if this season has brought discomfort, endings, or shifts, see them not as punishment, but as an invitation. Let go of what is holding you back, even if it's been part of your life for a long time. Stop clinging to the familiar at the expense of your growth. This season requires release, because only by letting go can you step fully into what you were created to receive. You can't control everything happening around you, but you can control how you respond. Life will throw situations at you that are unpredictable, unfair, and even painful. That is unavoidable. What is avoidable is how much power you give to those situations to dictate your emotions, your decisions, and your future. This season is asking you to practice emotional discipline, to recognize that your feelings are signals, not commands. They tell you where attention is needed, but they don't have to rule your actions. Most people mistake emotion for instruction. When anger arises, they lash out. When fear appears, they retreat. When disappointment hits, they spiral into self-doubt. And while these reactions are natural, they are not always helpful. Emotional discipline is learning to pause long enough to interpret your feelings before responding. It is the difference between reacting from raw instinct and responding from awareness. When you choose the latter, the heat of life stops consuming you and begins refining you. Discipline doesn't mean suppressing what you feel. It means guiding it. It means acknowledging the discomfort without letting it dictate your next step. It means saying, I feel this, but I will not allow it to control me. When you can do this consistently, you begin to operate from clarity instead of chaos. You begin to see opportunities in challenges instead of only obstacles. You begin to lead yourself rather than be led by circumstance. This season is also asking you to notice the patterns in your emotional responses. Where do you tend to overreact? Where do you allow fear to decide for you? Which triggers pull you back into old habits or unhealthy cycles? Emotional discipline begins with self-awareness. The more aware you are of your tendencies, the more choice you have in shaping them. And choice is power. Choice is freedom. Choice is the pathway to growth. When you master emotional discipline, relationships improve, decision-making becomes sharper, and your confidence grows. You are no longer at the mercy of every storm that passes through your life. You can still feel deeply, care passionately, and experience fully, but you no longer collapse under the weight of intensity. You become a steady presence, a guiding force, first for yourself and eventually for those around you. This is what the season is requiring, not perfection, not the absence of challenge, but mastery over your inner world. Because life will always throw heat, pressure, and uncertainty at you. What makes the difference is whether you allow those forces to dictate your path or whether you meet them with composure, awareness, and intentional response. Emotion. Our discipline turns chaos into clarity, and that is what allows you to step confidently into what's next. So as this season unfolds, remember that how you respond matters more than what happens to you. This season requires you to lead yourself with intention, to navigate your feelings with wisdom, and to let your responses create the life you are meant to live. Growth is rarely comfortable. Most of us want progress, but we want it wrapped in ease and certainty. We want to evolve without feeling stretched, to achieve without tension, and to expand without risk. But that's not how life works. Real growth lives in the uncomfortable zone, the space where your old ways of thinking no longer suffice, where your familiar routines are no longer enough, and where your comfort feels like a cage. This season is asking you to step into that space, to lean into discomfort instead of running from it. Discomfort is not a punishment, it's a signal. It's the universe telling you that your current self is being challenged to become something greater. That tension, that unease you feel in your chest is not a warning to stop. It's an invitation to evolve. It's the push that makes you question what's working and what's not. The nudge that forces you to confront fear, uncertainty, and doubt. The uncomfortable zone is where your courage is built, your creativity is unlocked, and your resilience is strengthened. Many people retreat at this stage. They seek comfort because it feels safe, even I. It keeps them small. But comfort cannot expand you. It cannot sharpen your vision or refine your purpose. Growth requires courage, the courage to face uncertainty, to move forward without guarantees, and to trust that your steps are leading you towards something better, even if the path is unclear. The stretch, the struggle, the tension, this is the raw material for transformation. In the uncomfortable zone, old patterns fall away. You begin to notice where you've been shrinking to survive, where you've been settling to avoid risk, and where you've been clinging to what feels familiar at the expense of what's next. That awareness is uncomfortable, yes, but necessary. It forces you to make intentional choices about who you are becoming and what you will no longer tolerate. You learn to leave behind what doesn't serve your future and make space for what aligns with your highest potential. Discomfort also teaches patience and perseverance. Not everything happens at once. Growth is often slow, invisible, and uneven. You may feel like you're struggling in circles, like nothing is happening, but this is the process. The uncomfortable zone is the laboratory of transformation. Every challenge, every moment of doubt, every decision to keep going instead of retreating is refining you. Every tension you navigate builds strength, depth, and clarity. This season requires you to embrace the stretch, to step boldly into uncertainty, to move forward even when you're not yet fully ready, because the uncomfortable zone is where breakthroughs are born. It's where your next level of self, your next level of opportunity, and your next level of impact are waiting for you. So don't resist what feels uncomfortable. Don't shrink from what challenges you. This season requires courage, presence, and trust. Trust that the space you fear is exactly where your growth is happening. When life feels overwhelming, our instinct is usually to move faster, do more, and try to fix everything immediately. We think action is the answer, and often it is, but not when it comes from chaos. Acting from anxiety or pressure rarely produces clarity. It produces mistakes, frustration, and exhaustion. This season is asking you to slow down, to pause, and to create space for stillness before action. Stillness is not weakness, it is strategy. It is the bridge between confusion and insight, between pressure and purpose. Stillness allows you to separate what truly matters from what only seems urgent. When everything is moving too fast, noise fills your mind. Emotions rise unchecked. Decisions feel like emergencies. And in that environment, it's easy to react in ways that serve fear instead of vision. But when you pause, even for a moment, you create space to see clearly. You notice patterns you couldn't see in the rush. You hear the quiet guidance you'd otherwise miss. You realize that not every fire needs to be extinguished immediately. Some simply needs patience. This season requires you to listen, not just respond, to observe, not just react, to breathe, not just push. Because insight doesn't come from busyness, it comes from presence. When you are still, your mind has room to organize, your heart has room to process, and your intuition has room to speak. Suddenly, what once felt chaotic begins to feel intentional. What once felt urgent begins to feel manageable. What once felt overwhelming begins to reveal the next right step. Stillness also teaches discernment. In the quiet, you begin to notice where your energy has been wasted, where your attention has been scattered, and where your priorities have been misaligned. You see who and what deserves your focus and who and what does not. You learn to invest in what aligns with your growth and release what depletes you. This is not hesitation. This is intentional action built on clarity. Many people avoid stillness because it feels uncomfortable. Silence forces honesty. Pausing exposes what has been ignored. But discomfort in stillness is different from panic in motion. It is constructive. It is refining. It is preparing you for decisions that matter, for actions that last, and for growth that is sustainable. The more you practice stillness, the more resilient you become. You stop being pulled into every storm, every opinion, every crisis. You remain steady while things move around you. You respond instead of reacting. You act with wisdom instead of impulse. And in that steadiness, clarity, and direction, merge naturally. So as this season unfolds, don't rush past the moments that feel quiet, uncertain, or still. This season requires pause, presence, and patience, because in that stillness, you will find the clarity you need to turn pressure into purpose and chaos into light. There is a truth many of us overlook. The seasons we endure are rarely just for us. The pain, the struggles, the mistakes, and the lessons we face are preparing us for something beyond ourselves. This season is asking you to become more than the person who simply survives. It's asking you to become someone whose experience can illuminate the path for others. Your story, your growth, your resilience, these are not meant to be hidden. They are meant to serve. It is easy to see struggle as a burden, as something to get past quietly. We carry it privately, ashamed or afraid that if anyone knew the depth of our challenges, we would be judged. But the very moments that feel isolating hold the greatest potential for impact. What you've survived can guide someone who hasn't yet found their way. Your lessons become the light that helps someone navigate the heat, the pressure, and the uncertainty of their own journey. Becoming someone who serves through experience requires courage and intention. It means being willing to share honestly, not to boast, but to teach. It means reflecting on what you've learned, noticing the patterns, and understanding how your journey can provide guidance. There is power in vulnerability, power that connects, reassures, and inspires. When people see that someone has walked through fire and emerged stronger, it gives them permission to keep walking, to keep enduring, and to trust that they will too survive and thrive. This season is asking you to see your struggles not as meaningless suffering, but as preparation for influence. The hardships you've endured have sharpened your discernment, built your resilience, and strengthened your empathy. These qualities are valuable, not just for your personal success, but for your ability to lift others. Your courage to face your own challenges becomes the courage others draw from. Your ability to persevere becomes proof that perseverance is possible. Many wait to serve until they feel ready, perfect, or whole. But the reality is, readiness is built through action, not waiting. Sharing your insights, modeling strength, and speaking your truth allows your growth to extend beyond yourself. It turns private victories into public inspiration. Every moment you've wrestled with doubt, every decision you've made to keep going when it was hard, becomes a lesson someone else can learn from without having to go through the same fire themselves. This season requires you to step into that role intentionally, to recognize that your pain has purpose, that your endurance has meaning, that the light you've gained through your struggles can now shine for someone else. Your healing and your growth are not just personal achievements, they are contributions to the world. So don't minimize what you've overcome or dismiss the lessons you've earned. This season requires you to become a guide, a witness, and a source of light, because the most powerful way to honor your journey is to let it illuminate the way for others.